Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, Mike Lindell sent me a note yesterday. He has a special for the 6-piece towel set, $25 when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com, use promo code Joey. You'll get the $25 offer on the 6-piece towel set, and I promise you, these will be the most comfortable, the most absorbent towels that you own. mypillow.com, use promo code Joey. Get the 6-piece towel set for just $25. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio to lose weight for the last time. Visit myphdweightloss.com. It looks like Hunter Biden is on his own here, as Dad told reporters at the 80th anniversary of D-Day event in Normandy, France, when asked that he would not pardon his son if convicted of the charges. We have the details of that. And it was another example of dazed and confused. President Biden seemed to be in a perpetual state of confusion, as described by a number of media sources, following his speech in Normandy yesterday. Again, he was there to commemorate the 80th anniversary of D-Day. At times, the president was seen attempting to sit down, for example, only to get back up when he realized everyone else was standing, but he kept leaning over as if he was going to sit. First Lady Jill Biden just seemed to ignore him. As we honored the brave men who fought on D-Day yesterday, sadly, we lost another hero as he was traveling to Normandy to attend the event. We have the details about 102-year-old Bob Persichitti. South Carolina Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette joins us later in the show from the U.S. Army War College, where she's attending a national security seminar. We'll get an update on what's happening at the South Carolina State House. And the 3rd Congressional District race is down to the wire with 7 candidates competing to take the seat currently held by Congressman Jeff Duncan. Sherry Biggs, a first-time political candidate, will spend a few minutes with us this morning to discuss why she's running for Congress and why you should be casting a vote for her.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
President Biden said yesterday he will not pardon his son Hunter and will accept the verdict in the ongoing felony gun trial. In an interview with ABC News' David Muir in Normandy, France, Biden was asked whether he would accept the results of the federal trial underway in Delaware, which he replied with one word, yes. And when asked whether he would rule out pardoning Hunter if convicted, Biden also answered with one word, yes. Biden also doubled down on his stance following the conviction of former President Trump in the New York trial over falsifying business records. Biden told Muir, he's trying to undermine it. He got a fair trial. The jury spoke. Hunter Biden, of course, charged with federal gun crimes, including making a false statement in the purchase of a firearm, making a false statement related to information required to be kept by a federal firearms licensed dealer, and one count of possession of a firearm by a person who is an unlawful user of or addicted to a controlled substance. His trial got underway on Monday. We'll see soon whether or not he's going to need his dad to try to bail him out again. No way can Joe Biden pardon his son and survive politically. Can he? You believe there's any chance that this may be another instance where Joe Biden has to go back on his word and do the opposite? Any way possible, if Hunter Biden is found guilty, that Dad can pardon him? Love to get your comments. Send me a quick text. Email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. It was another example of dazed and confused. The Republican National Committee Research Division posted several videos on X that appeared to show Joe Biden in what they called a perpetual state of confusion. This following his speech in Normandy, which he was there again to commemorate the 80th anniversary of D-Day. The RNC research account, which, by the way, you need to understand is managed by former President Trump's campaign and the RNC, showed several posts on X, or Twitter, whatever you call it, of the president in Normandy, with one video showing Biden bending down at one point, seeming to be uncertain whether it was time to sit down or not. Awkward, the RNC caption described the video. In part of Biden's speech to D-Day veterans, he He appeared to misspeak while urging allies to support Ukraine in its war against Russia, saying that hundreds of thousands of Russian military personnel were killed in Ukraine. He said they suffered tremendous losses with Russia. The numbers are staggering. 350,000 Russian troops dead or wounded, he said. Later, Biden claimed in an ABC interview with David Muir that he's known Russian President Putin for over 40 years, he said. Notwithstanding the fact now that Putin served as an undercover KGB intelligence officer for the Soviet Union throughout most of the 1980s. Biden told Muir, "I've known him for over 40 years. He's concerned me for 40 years. He's not a decent man." No way has Joe Biden known Mr. Putin for 40 years. It's another one of his exaggerations. Another video showed Biden walking off with First Lady Jill Biden as the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, continued to greet and chat with World War II veterans. At one point in a hot mic moment, Biden appeared to tell President Macron, quote, "My advance team said I got to be the first one to leave." In another video capturing the interaction. Don't you think the French president probably thinks this is just an idiot? He is a complete idiot. Telling me that your advance team says I got to get out of here first, I got to be the first to leave? Don't you think those details were kind of worked out between the various security details of world leaders who were there? Questions about Biden's mental acuity, of course, started circulating again after the Wall Street Journal's bombshell report that interviewed 45 lawmakers and administration officials about Biden's mental performance. 81 years old, he's the oldest person to hold the presidency, and he's faced skepticism from voters and Republican lawmakers primarily, some Democrats, about his ability to do his job. Many Republicans and some Democrats said the president showed his age in private meetings. This was part of the overall theme of this Wall Street Journal article. Most of the people interviewed by the outlet who were critical of Biden's performance were Republicans, although some Democrats said the president showed his age in several exchanges. There's talk about how the president just never seemed to really understand what the meaning or what the purpose of the meeting was. White House officials, however, have dismissed any of the accounts from people who have met with the president or been briefed on those meetings, saying that such criticisms were motivated by partisan politics. It's all politics, they said. Congressional Republicans, foreign leaders, and nonpartisan national security experts have made clear in their own words that President Biden is a savvy and effective leader who has a deep record of legislative accomplishment, according to White House spokesperson Andrew Bates. They read it exactly the way he wrote it. He went on to say, now in 2024, House Republicans are making false claims as a political tactic that flatly contradict previous statements made by themselves and their colleagues. Maybe so. But how do you explain what you can watch on video? How do you explain the confusion that Joe Biden was showing during these ceremonies? How do you explain that? As we honored those brave men who fought on D-Day in this 80th anniversary, sadly, we lost another hero as he was traveling to attend the D-Day anniversary event. A World War II Navy veteran, he was 102 years old, was traveling to France to attend the D-Day 80th anniversary. Bob Persichitti, his death, which occurred on Friday, May 31st, according to the reports, was confirmed by Honor Flight Rochester. This is an organization that honors American veterans for their sacrifices by flying them to Washington and hosting events. Persichitti, a New York resident, fought to help put an end to World War II and witnessed the raising of the U.S. flag at Iwo Jima. Rich Stewart, president and CEO of Honor Flight Rochester, told Fox News of his death. Stewart said that Persichitti became ill last week while traveling on a ship that was en route to Normandy for the D-Day tribute. He was then brought to a hospital in Germany where he died peacefully, Stewart said. Bob Persichitti a World War II Navy veteran, was said to be extremely active, in good health, and with it until the very end. Persichitti served as a radio man, second class on the command ship USS El Dorado, including tours in the Pacific Theater, Iwo Jima, Okinawa, and Guam, according to the New York State Senate's webpage announcing Persichitti's induction into the Veterans Hall of Fame in 2020. According to a website, since attending Rochester Honor Flight Mission 29, he's been active in supporting the goals of this program, working tirelessly as a diplomat, gaining both financial and participatory support. In the Radio Shack where Persichitti was stationed, he was with two Navajos who were top-secret Marine code talkers who communicated with comrades on shore, according to the story. He, without question, would show up at every welcome home since Mission 29 when he went as an honor veteran, and now we're on Mission 84. He would be at the airport well-wishing, hooting and hollering, clapping and cheering, they added. Persichitti grew up in a coal mining town outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, worked as a paper boy to earn money so he could afford transportation to and from high school, according to his bio. The closest high school was far from his home, and on the days he is not able to afford bus tickets, he would hitch rides in order to get to the school. Stewart said that Persichitti will be missed by many, and he was involved in Honor Flight Rochester. He was a real regular guy, and we really miss him. He had no eras about him. He was just a comfortable friend to have, according to those who knew him. Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Furman Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Soon going to be 4 years ago that I started my journey with PhD weight loss and nutrition. I lost 30 pounds pretty quickly, I might add. And I've been able to maintain that for almost 4 years now. It'll be 4 years coming up in July. If this is the year that you have decided that you're going to get healthy, that you're going to lose that weight, that visceral fat that's so damaging around your waist, then now's the time to start. Let me encourage you to make that call today. 864-252-4925. Set up your initial consultation with PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. Boy, am I glad that I met Dr. Ashley Lucas 4 years ago, and that she got me on the right path to getting healthy. You're going to be able to do things that you may have thought you'd never be able to do again. Play with the kids, the grandkids, be able to hike and walk, and maybe play a full 18-round hole of golf and be able to do it and not get so winded. Because when you take that excess weight off, you're just going to feel better. You're going to be able to focus. You're going to be able to sleep better. Your overall health is just going to be improved. 864-252-4925. Call, set up your initial consultation. Find them online at myphdweightloss.com. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers. On our text line, boy, did I get some feedback from having Representative Ralph Norman on yesterday, particularly when he talked about the role that Nikki Haley might play in the next Trump administration. Representative Norman, if you listened yesterday, indicated that he thought Nikki Haley would make a good choice for vice president. In fact, Representative Norman said that he spoke with President Trump not too long ago, encouraging him to reach out to Nikki and at least have that conversation. You didn't like that at all. I got a lot of comments on that one. Tony wrote, Joey, I completely disagree with Ralph Norman about Nikki being a good candidate for vice president. What he didn't mention was most of her donors and votes were from Democrats, and there are better candidates to choose from, but regardless, Trump now has my vote. Thank you, Tony. I'm glad we got that cleared up with you voting. You definitely need to vote. Faye wrote, Joey, I have a lot of respect for Ralph Norman, but does he not realize Tricky Nikki did not get the support of South Carolina? Who better knows her and how destructive she could be as president one day in the future than South Carolinians? To me, she just radiates distrust. She took our flag down, and that was a no-no. So no to Nikki, Mr. Norman. Susan writes, what the Sam Hill is Ralph Norman thinking? Has he never heard of an open primaries where Democrats are only voting for Nikki Haley out of sheer hatred for Trump and will be voting for Biden? Even with South Carolina's open primary, she lost to Trump by 20.3%. And Nikki lost Bamberg, her hometown, that she was expecting to win by 30% to Trump. Yes, they didn't like being falsely accused of discriminating against the little brown girl. And there were many others as well. Scott in Toccoa says, listening to your podcast, you were talking about your weight loss journey. I remember you starting it. Has it really been 4 years? I'm getting old fast when 4 years pass that quick. Well, congratulations on your success. Thank you, Scott. Yes, it'll be 4 years in the first week of July. I started it in right after the 4th of July in 2020. And yes, and that, of course, PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition is a great program. I lost 30 pounds. I've been able to maintain that weight for soon to be 4 years. Thank you, Scott, for mentioning that. Jeff writes on the text line, why would they put a 2,500 count on illegal border crossings? The key word here is illegal. They should not be allowed to be in our country. 0. That's illegal. Thank you, Jeff. Michelle says, ask Adam Morgan how he stands with developers and taking South Carolina farmland for cheap subdivisions. We're being surrounded and feel helpless. Michelle referring to my conversation with Adam Morgan yesterday during the Mike Gallagher show. If you missed that, you can go back and listen to that on the Odyssey app as well. Texter, interesting to see the White House pushing back on Joe being senile. Dr. Jill likes being First Lady. I think there probably is some truth to that for sure. Texter, kill the kangaroos, disbar the perpetrators. Texter, they don't need any more trials. They got what they need now. Plus, they avoid looking like they're piling on. Texter says, did you see the article in Zero Hedge about American employment? All the jobs are going to illegal immigrants. Bidenomics. I did see that article, and I'm sure this is in reference to what I was talking about the other day with California losing so many jobs, particularly in the fast food restaurant industry. After California raised their minimum wage to $20 an hour, fast food restaurants are closing like crazy. Texter says a Spartanburg County vet got into big trouble over keeping a pet that a customer had dropped off for euthanasia. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that you would take your dog or your cat or your pet because it was sick and you were going to have it euthanized, and for some reason the vet doesn't do it. I don't get it. This is in reference to the story yesterday I told you about where the lady saw her dog that she had been told was too sick and needed to be euthanized. She saw it on an adoption site looking for a new home. Texter says, I'm not voting if Nikki Haley is vice president. She has a backbone like a jellyfish. Well, now, you can't say you're not going to vote because you have to vote. We'll see who the eventual vice president nominee is. Texter, Democrats don't need to tax anymore. They'll just spend money that we don't have and cause more inflation. You're probably right there. Texter, Nikki Haley is definitely a poor choice. Texter, I don't think Nikki Haley is a good pick. The Democrat backing that she has, she's up to no good. I think the people will see right through that, and I think Trump would lose more folks and he would gain by picking Nikki Haley as a running mate. I'm beginning to think you guys don't want Nikki Haley. I don't think Nikki's going to be too high on your list. Texter says, when Trump gets an appeal, all of the charges will be gone. I think you're right on that one. Texter, ask Ralph Norman, why won't he answer my question about Morgan voting on 2 bills to punish only veterans? I'm not sure. I'm not sure I understand that question. You've texted me a couple times. Send me an email, joey@joeyhudson.com, with full details on which bill you're talking about. Texter, yeah, he's been doing the teleprompter, and Obama probably is the one telling him what to do to finish the mess that he started. Texter, Joe Biden shouldn't have been president this term, much less another. Texter writes, Joey, this has been going on for several years. They're just now wanting to talk about it so they can nominate someone different at the D.C. convention. This was in reference to my question to Representative Norman yesterday. Will Joe Biden be the nominee? Will Joe Biden's name be on the ballot come November? And if you missed that conversation with Ralph Norman yesterday, Representative Norman doesn't believe Joe Biden will be on the ticket. Representative Norman believes that the Democrats will end up switching him out. What do you think? I'd love to get your feedback. Do you really believe? And again, Representative Norman yesterday was pretty matter of fact that he just does not think Joe Biden will be on the ticket come November. I'd love to get your feedback. Send me a quick email, joey@joeyhudson.com. Your text messages are welcome as well. Have you RSVP'd for our election night, or our June 11th election night watch party next Tuesday? Text RSVP to 71307 to reserve your spot at Pints and Politics at New Realm Brewing Company. Again, we'll start at 7 o'clock. You'll have a chance to meet my buddy Mike Gallagher. Charlie James will be there with yours truly. We'll be giving you the most up-to-date coverage, the South Carolina primary, Tuesday. Go vote if you haven't already early voted. Today's the last day that you can vote. Otherwise, you'll have to wait till Tuesday, which that's okay too. But I hope you'll join us as News Talk 98.9 WORD will be at New Realm Brewing Company. That's at 912 South Main Street in downtown Greenville for live primary coverage, 7 to 10. There'll be free admission and lots of good prizes. And again, Charlie James, Mike Gallagher, yours truly. We're going to have the best coverage that evening. And my buddy, Dr. Orrin Smith from Palmetto Promise Institute will be joining us to keep us up to date on the latest returns as well. Whether you're replacing a broken appliance or maybe you're just upgrading, you're totally remodeling the kitchen, when it's time to get those new appliances, when you're ready for them, you don't want to have to wait weeks or even months to get started using them, right? Well, that's not the case when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. With over 11,000 square feet and 1,500 appliances at any given time, you can buy today and use today quite often. I'm talking about shopping with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. It's worth the short drive over to Pickens. Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, the whole team over there, they'll take good care of you. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, extended warranties, and at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe to all the team over there. Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they're proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with manufacturer's warranties that cover parts and labor. You owe it to yourself if you're looking for a new appliance to head over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. On our guest line today, Lt Governor Pamela Evette. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, my friend Joey. I'm doing well. I hope you are.
I am doing wonderful. Now, you are calling in today from an undisclosed location, or can you tell us where you are?
I can tell you I'm in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. I've been studying at the Army War College this week, and it has been a fascinating week. We're working alongside and studying alongside other military from across the globe, along with our own military that are looking. You have to go through the Army War College, I found out, if you're going to get that first star on your shoulder. And so a lot of seasoned Army, Navy, just military men and women who have been sharing their insights on strategy in the world we live in today. It's been fascinating. Yep,
I'll bet so. I did see your post on Facebook, and it does look like it would be very interesting to be there. Well, we are finally just a few days away from voting. It seems like this primary season has lasted forever, and maybe it's because I have moderated I don't know how many different forums around the upstate over these past few months for sheriff and congressional races, House races. It's been a very busy time. Let's talk about early voting for a minute. I don't know that you and I have talked about this recently. How do you think the way South Carolina is doing early voting is working?
I think it's a great thing, because what it does is it stops in people from having to request that mail-in ballot.
Yeah.
And I think anytime you have to show up with your ID and vote, where you can see, you put in your choices, it spits out a piece of paper. You can look at that paper, make sure that it spit out the right people that you voted for.
Yeah.
There's a double check, and then it goes in. I think anytime you have to vote in person with an ID, we have done a great thing. So we've tried to make it easier to vote and harder to cheat. So you have 2 weeks before voting, Monday through Friday, before our actual election day. And so if you're going to be out of town, you don't have an excuse.
Yep.
If voting day means something is going on in your world, you have to go to the dentist and get a tooth pulled, you have to have a surgery, whatever the case may be, you can make sure that you schedule it in your calendar. So I'm encouraging everybody. We need a big turnout. It really is, for all that we try to do to make elections safe and transparent and give everybody confidence, it is heartbreaking to see we put so much work into it, and only, the last primary, 16% showed up to vote. We can do better than that.
And yes, June the 11th. If you haven't early voted, then you just need to mark that on your calendar for next Tuesday. course, we'll have coverage of the returns on Tuesday night. So my buddy Mike Gallagher will be in town. Mike and Charlie James and I will be starting at 7 o'clock on 98.9 WORD, and we'll have all the returns for you coming in on Tuesday. Let's talk for a minute. This week, the southern border, of course, has been consistently at the top of the list of issues important to people across the country. I don't care which state you live in. It's interesting to me when back during the presidential primary when I was in New Hampshire, and New Hampshire is about as far away from the southern border as you can get, but it was their big issue. It was the top issue among voters that I spoke with in New Hampshire, stopping the flow of illegals into our southern border. Well, President Biden announced that he's taking executive action to control the flow of asylum seekers because he says the GOP-controlled House has failed to do so. What do you believe is the answer to our problem here? And just what is your response to the president making this big deal out of taking executive action this week?
Well, what I say to President Biden is it's too little, too late. He's already let in so many people, those of which we have no idea who they are, into our towns and communities. A statistic that I read, I'm going to just say it's a statistic. I haven't looked into if it's true or not. But Chinese nationals crossing our southern border up 800%. Let that sink in. And so I think what he has done once again is horrible, as the Democrats always do. He has allowed exemptions for people bringing in minors. So what does that do? If you want to get across the border, let's traffic somebody's child, right? Let's steal somebody's child. Let's bring him across the border. We don't know. A staggering statistic a few years ago is that only 15% of the minors that are brought across the southern border are with a family member. If they're not with a family member, who are they with, and how did they get them, right?
Yep.
Something nobody is talking about, Joey. If President Biden wanted to do the right thing, he would have, with a stroke of his pen, just like he did with this, reinstated Trump policies, which were good policies that were working. He would start building the wall, and he'd start doing something meaningful. This is just, once again, pandering. For years we heard this could not be done through executive order, didn't he? I mean, we heard that over and over.
Can't do it on my own, he said. Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's right. Well, by God, that's exactly what he has just done, and he's done it poorly, as always. So what I say is the only way to stop this crisis is at the ballot boxes in November. We need to elect more Republicans into the Senate and to the House so that we can take over the Senate, add our numbers to the House so we're not fighting each other. We need to get President Trump back in the White House, and we need to do something that really is foundational change. Finish building the wall, mass deportation. Mm-hmm. I just saw, again, another statistic saying that, people from the right and the left are all in favor of deportation. And, let's take people back to their country of origin, let them start the process the right way. Yeah. And let's let all the people who have waited in line, those are the victims. They're victims too.
Yeah, exactly.
They've done everything the right way and have been thrown under the bus.
Yep. On our guest line today, Lt Governor Pamela Evette. The South Carolina legislature is back in Columbia this week to continue working on the budget, a couple other items that were in their sine die agreement. You and Governor McMaster were in the upstate just this past week signing a couple of important pieces of legislation. Talk with us about those.
Yeah, so the Help Don't Harm is a great piece of legislation, basically stopping any kind of hormone replacement or gender-altering surgeries under the age of 18, and then blocking any tax dollars through Medicaid, Social Security, into going into any of those kinds of elective procedures. So this is a huge win. It's protecting our children. And basically, there's been a lot of people, on the other side of this issue saying, we're going to hurt children who find themselves in this very unfamiliar to me place, need our help. What I say to that is, listen, when, for I don't know how many years, Joey, I've heard over and over again from the medical world that a human's brain is not fully developed till they're 25.
Yep.
And they shouldn't be making life-altering decisions that they're bound to because their brain doesn't develop till 25. I don't know why we just don't stick with that as the exact reason why this had to be, because that's all we've heard forever. That's either a right thing or a not right thing. And you can't say that a child's brain, a human's brain, is not developed till 25. Oh, but they can change their gender at 5, right? They have full clarity on that. So also good statistics, 20% of people who go through a gender transforming process, 20 times higher to commit suicide after that's done.
Yes.
So Europe is stopping these surgeries. They're stopping gender-altering drugs. They were ahead of us on this very pioneered kind of process, and they have stopped it because of what they've found. I mean, I don't know, Joey, that's very compelling to say this is an amazing piece of legislation here in South Carolina. Also, governor signing into law a internet protection bill. So basically trying to help parents keep their kids safe. Keep kids out of pornographic sites because you have to put in your driver's license information. Yeah. You have to prove that you're over 18. So, I said it in my remarks, Joey, I'm a parent. My mom, myself, you talk to any parents who are a little bit older, you would think that if my child is in my house, if I could see my child in my yard, they're safe.
Right.
Because of the internet, that's not the way it is anymore. Bad actors will try to get to our kids by any path possible.
Yep.
And I think it's a good piece of legislation. My dad used to always say, Joey, if you aren't embarrassed of what you're doing, if you think what you're doing is right, then you would do it out in the open. Yep. So if you're over 18 and that's what you choose to do, by God, we're not stopping you from doing it. We're just saying you got to prove you're over 18. So again, one more piece of legislation to help keep South Carolina's children and to help their parents keep them safe, which I think is really important.
Right. Yep. Two good pieces of legislation. Great work by the legislature. And, of course, you and Governor Master signing off on that here in the upstate just this past week. Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette, be safe as you travel back to the Palmetto State. And remember, vote, vote, vote on Tuesday. Safe travels. We'll talk again hopefully next week.
That's right, Joey. Take care, my friend.
Sure thing. Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Furman Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. On our guest line today, Sherry Biggs, running for the 3rd Congressional District of South Carolina, one of 7 candidates. Welcome. Good morning. How are you?
Hello. I'm great. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate your time today because I know you have a lot of territory to cover. On your website, you say that Washington has a health problem, mental, fiscal, spiritual. Your slogan is healing our nation. And I agree. We do need some healing in our nation. What are some of the things that you will do to start that healing process?
Well, I think acknowledging the problems as they exist is important. So for me, my background has been in healthcare. I also serve in the military as an Aerovac nurse. So when I go into a situation, the first thing to do is triage the situation and identify what priorities are at hand and make a list and start at the top and move your way down, and that's what I plan to do in Washington.
This is your first time running for public office. Why now? What made you decide to run for Congress?
Well, it's true that I am a political outsider, so I've served in my community. I've served my country. My entire professional career has been serving others, and as I have been meeting with not only my patients but individuals in my community, and I'm a psych mental health practitioner, so listening to other people's problems and concerns, I just realized what a state we're in, and I think it's time. I think it's time for someone to step up, a strong political outsider who's not afraid of taking on this tough fight. So here I am.
Yep. Do you believe that since you have not held public office, this makes you somewhat uniquely qualified over someone who maybe has served in other capacities?
Well, I think there are a lot of good candidates in this race that have different backgrounds, but I think the thing that gives me the advantage is being a political outsider, that the people in my district are communicating with me, and I think they feel a connection, and I understand what they're going through, and I think I will best represent them.
Immigration is consistently listed as one of the top issues that voters are concerned about. President Biden this week announced he's taking executive action to restrict the number of asylum seekers. He, of course, pointing the finger at GOP members of Congress, saying that they were not able to do this, so he is going to take the executive action and do it himself. What do you believe is the solution at our southern border?
Well, there again, just realizing that it is actually a crisis, and unfortunately I feel like what President Biden is doing is a little too late, and I think someone is really going to have to step up, because this is a situation that affects each of us, from the economy and labor to fentanyl and crime. I mean, this crisis, it's not new. I mean, this has been a problem for a very long time, but it really has been exacerbated by the failure of leadership from President Biden, and the lifelong politicians have added to the problem. And I think their failure is allowing millions of illegal aliens to cross into our country, and these aren't great citizens.
Yeah.
These are terrorists. They're violent criminals. They're drug dealers, and they're threatening the security of our nation and killing our children with their drugs and draining our resources.
Yep. Other than immigration, as you have traveled around the 3rd Congressional District, and geographically that's a pretty big area to cover, what are the issues that voters are talking with you about? What's top of mind of voters, and what do you think you'll be able to do as a member of Congress to solve these problems?
Well, I think one of the main issues that our neighbors are facing is the serious issue with the economy. I mean, I think people, they know it and they feel it every time they go to the grocery store. I know what it's like to work hard, and I know the value of $1, and I think Bidenomics has failed us miserably, and individuals are hurting. I mean, we don't need an economist to tell us that when you give money away to people not to work, that inflation is going to rise, and the people in District 3 are feeling that. And I know a lot of people I've talked to, people are using credit cards just to meet their basic needs, to just make ends meet every month, and it's very frustrating.
Yep. One of the things, and Sherry, I've been around a while now. I'm an older guy, and so I can remember the days of congressional races to where one of the top issues would be candidates would vow to balance the budget. That's not an issue that we hear a lot on the campaign trail these days about balancing the budget. Do you believe that it's realistic to think that we can once again have a balanced budget?
I do think it's realistic, and I think it's unfortunate that we don't. I mean, each one of us are expected to balance our budgets in our household. Otherwise, we would either be bankrupt or in jail for not meeting our responsibilities. And And I think we should expect our government to balance the budget. I don't think we have a money problem in Washington, D.C. I think we have a spending problem, and people need to be held accountable and need to be transparent for the spending of taxpayers' money. Yeah. I don't think that's unrealistic.
Yeah. Let's talk a minute about foreign affairs. We spend, and speaking of spending money, we send a lot of foreign aid to different countries, of course, billions of dollars recently to Ukraine, billions to Israel. Talk with us about your views on both of those countries and how you feel about us supporting other countries like that.
Yeah, I know this is a controversial topic, and I'll just get the most important thing right out there in the beginning. So because of my faith, I will always stand with Israel and whatever they need. I definitely feel like we need to be there to assist them. I think on the situation with Ukraine, I think the problem is not that we're helping and providing resources to our allies, but I think the problem is that we're not being held accountable. We're not being transparent about what that money is being utilized for. And I think we've let it go so far. I don't think if we had different administration that we would have come as far as we have with the situation in Ukraine. I think when President Trump said no, he meant no, and we have lost the respect and the power that we once held in those positions.
Yep.
But I think I think we should take care of America first. You know, the veterans are a huge interest of mine, and I think when we're giving away money to illegals and we're not taking care of our own, and I'll just use the veterans for example, I think that's un-American.
Yep. Sherry Biggs with us today. Sherry is a congressional candidate in the 3rd Congressional District. Next Tuesday is Election Day, primary day in South Carolina, June the 11th. If you haven't early voted, then you need to set aside some time to vote on Tuesday. Sherry, in our final minute or so together today, just take this moment to tell our listeners why they should be casting their vote for Sherry Biggs next Tuesday.
Sure. So I am Sherry Biggs. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a conservative Christian. I love my country. I continue to serve my country in the position as a lieutenant colonel for the Air Guard. My background has been in health care, and I hope that I properly introduce myself to you and some of my values and positions on issues that I care about. I want to be your member of Congress to represent the 3rd District. I will never forget my responsibility, that my responsibility is to my district and not to myself. So I hope if you haven't decided on a candidate in this race that you pick the best person who represents you and your values. And I would love for you to check out my website. It's sherrybiggs.com, and that's SHERIBIGGS.com. I feel like our country's broken. We need a strong servant leader to represent us in Congress. And I humbly ask for your prayers, your support, and your vote. That's the most important thing. Get out and vote on June the 11th.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I hope that and you know, today is D-Day, and I hope that we never forget the sacrifices that were made by those who paved the way for us to exercise our right to vote.
Yeah, very good point. Sherry, again, appreciate your time today, and good luck next Tuesday.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Just click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, find me on YouTube. Be sure and like, subscribe, follow me on my YouTube channel. Just search for Joey Hudson. Appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. Be sure and forward this edition of Just the Truth to some friends. Just click on the share button, send it to a few of your contacts, because if we're going to build our community and we're going to win in the June primaries, and if we're going to win in November especially, we got to build an army of conservatives. The way we beat Joe Biden is through educating people, and no better way and encouraging them to listen to just the truth. Hey, keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your emails always welcome as well. Joey@joeyhudson.com. Don't forget to take advantage of the MyPillow special, $25 for the My Towels 6-piece towel set when you use promo code Joey. Just go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. We're back again tomorrow. Hope you will be too. Remember, God's got this. He's still in control.